tertiary education to expand access, boost infrastructure. And that's coming from Tunji Ala. INEC 6, genuine financial autonomy, says imposition of candidates undermines electoral process, urges parties to deepen internal democracy. And that story is on page 13. 36 states stall on federal non-state school policy. Food security, Oluremi Tinubu extends renewed hope outreach to Ondo. And that's all on that page. We'll be right back for more stories after this commercial break. Please stay with us.
In today's fast-paced world, staying ahead demands peak performance from our bodies.
Like never before, our bodies need an optimum supply of essential nutrients, and Supermalt supports our daily nutritional needs.
Supermalt has 20 essential vitamins, minerals, and natural extracts for overall health and wellness. One Supermalt a day gives you energy and vitality, improves your mental performance, and supports your immunity.
This award goes to the most punctual student of the entire school. And the winner is Lisa Solomon.
Something is telling me that she makes her daughter skip breakfast just to be here. You people could have just asked. I would have been happy to tell you my secret.
Enjoy instant goodness with John Vent's 3-in-1 chocolate. The quickest start to your morning.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on. Malaria gone.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Still on the newspaper review on the Nigerian Tribune. More stories on page 16. 3 dead, 12 rescued as building sinks in Ogun. Abiodun orders full investigation, appreciates Lasema, other responders for recovery operations. Polytechnic students blocked Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway over killing of colleague by suspected robbers. Again, suspected headers kill 15 in Benue. 32 abducted victims rescued in Sokoto. And that's all on that page, on page 21. Ondo Subeb, UBEC, unveiled revised operational documents. 2020, 220 Lagos school children benefit from firm's support. Federal government begins third phase of employment initiative for youth in Ekiti. And on the back page where we have some sports stories, Glasgow 2026, how I won the gold. And that's coming from Umuafia. Umwabali, one of Nigeria's best Chippa United coach. The king who crowned himself. And that's all we have. And lastly, on the back page, Glasgow 2026, Ajayi wins bronze for Nigeria. And that's all on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Victor, over to you.
Of course, interested stories on the Nation newspaper this morning.
right, apologies for that break. Well, of course, right now we have the Nation's paper right in front of me, and yes, indeed, we have stories on the front page, starting with this one: xenophobia. Federal government demands justice from South Africa. We have Enekon Laye briefs president on meeting with Ramaphosa's special envoy. You read more of that on page 2 of the Nation's paper for today. We have a story on page 49: Ocean 2026 or need to INEC ensure free and fair election. Edit Monarch rally support for Governor Oyebamiji with defeats Adeleke, Yuwata, and Uzo Dima declare. A story on page 6 now. ADC hails appeal court's verdict voiding order to deregister parties. On page 51, 18 killed in Benue, Taraba communities, earlier alarmed. And of course, there is this one coming from a story continued on to page 2. INEC neutral and fair to all parties, says Tinubu as the president hosts Catholic bishops. Now on that same page 2, we have this one: e-payment penetration drops cash outside banks to 4.92 trillion naira. And on page 51, 3 killed as building sinks in Ajuwon community near Lagos. Now flipping to what we have on the inside pages of the Nation's paper for this morning. On page 3, Fubaras return to Rainbow Coalition excites Wike. Kwakwansia's brace cracks with Gaya Naga exit from NDC. And yes, 2027, opposition suffering self-inflicted wound, says APC chair. We also have this one where the DIA confirms killing of Army intelligence officer. Now to page 4, where IG orders special units to track terror and the theft funds. Churches have been urged to adopt security measures. On that same page 4, the hails Tinubu 6 longer LPG refill grace period. And Nasarawa signs lithium MOU with Chinese firm. APC reconciles warring Anambra factions, retains Anosike as chair. And we have Tinubu to inaugurate 39 projects at Akwa Ibom anniversary. Reps panel wades into local refineries and marketers row. And global HIV funding falls 25% as deaths aids 570,000. AIG more questions against media trials and reaffirms rule of law. Now to page 5, surveillance aircraft will boost security in Oyo, says Makinde. Ondo Assembly crisis deepens. Oyo Council poll, OISEC extends conduct of primaries to August 5. Tinubu committed to food security, says the federal government. Ondo APC peace panel vows to end cases. And we have other stories as well in there. But to page 6, where alleged criminal defamation, we have Shawore rescinds decisions to invite DSS DG as his witness. There's something on that same page, 2027, presidency must remain in the South, and Forum has insisted on that one right here. But then the First Lady is saying to Nigerians, let's be compassionate and patriotic. It's time to start real offensive against terrorists, says Ashim. And appeal courts voids judgments ordering INEC to deregister ADC, Accord, ZLP, AA, and APP. Now to business on page 7, Lagos targets $1 trillion economy, and we also have all the stories right there. Now flipping to midweek politics on page 19, the question is about the other presidential candidates. Why Tinubu will win again? APC's post-primary turmoil test on those stronghold. Kansaraki ride APC's crisis back to power in Kwara. These are questions that are being asked on midweek politics. I'll share on today's Nation newspaper. But on the editorial and comments page right here, on pages 24 and 25, we have an interesting story addressing Nigeria's charcoal dilemma, IMF's perilous economic prescription. Nigeria's energy sector is quietly winning, and inside Lagos technology revolution. Also on page 26, we have Meta lawsuits as Africa's AI governance wake-up call. And of course, there are more interesting stories. Now to page 46, where some will lose aid, promises more PSP operators for Badagry. And we have something on page 47, where on the general election, women leader rallies council women. All right, so flipping on to what we have on page 48, Tinubu lauds Minister Doro's dedication at daughter's wedding. Okay, now to page 49. A court faction, Baxo Ibamiji, declares support for Tinubu. And of course, Timi of Ede rally votes for Accord. That's interesting. Peace Accord, EU, Kuka Center rally stakeholders. And of course, we flip on to what we have on page 50, where Ejiofor says, I remain IPOP's lawyer, Kanu didn't sack me. Okay, on to city and crime on page 51. Abiodun orders probe as 3 die in Ogun building collapse. Ogun police students block expressway to protest killing of colleague. Police arrest 2 with a stun gun. Court suspects nabbed in Edo. Government urged to site industrial hub in Badagry. 18 killed in Taraba, Benue, renewed bandits attacks. Anambra hostel collapse. 2 confirmed dead, 2 survivors discharged. And police repel bandits, rescued 32 kidnapped victims in Kano. And to page 52, just talking about some foreign stories. The Straits of Hormuz, Iran gets Gulf-backed plan for voluntary fees, and southern Japan hit by magnitude 7.1 earthquake, no tsunami detected. Now to sports, where on page 55, federal government fulfills Mission X reward, pledges to Super Falcons as defending champions lose WAFCON 2026 opener to Malawi. It was quite a game yesterday. Arukudari is set for Ajax unveiling after passing medical. Fashola to grace BRF, ITTF Africa Youth Cup. Zidane says it was the only job he wanted, talking about the France national team head coach role. And there's 4.5 million naira to be won at Lagos Premier Football League. Ajayi additional secure bronze for Team Nigeria. And yes, talking about Glasgow 2026. We have DSC urges Delta athletes to sustain impressive performances out there. And that's as much as we can take on the newspaper review segment this morning. And yes, indeed, we're going on for the weather reports. And after that, we'll be in the interview segment.
it me. It's your 100%
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Since your landlord just increased rent. I said for this one separately on money points.
No, you say you save on money points.
Yes.
This madam money points here. The array of your dryer there is target savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is this savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact.
Jennifer, money point save as you transact. Money point fixed savings and money point target savings.
What's up? Why did German won't contribute to you? Where she there? Come on, oh, you go give your money to Hadaku to save. You see money point accounts there. You don't go open a savings account. Now Hadaku you shoot. I beg everybody inside this my saloon. Oh, you bring out your phone and download the money points hack now. Even you. What are you waiting for? Download the money points hack now. Hadaku, wow, open money points account too.
Money point made for your progress.
All right, yes, this morning we have a very interesting conversation to actually get into right here as we speak. And of course, this is how I welcome you right here to the interview segment where we are talking about the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. And of course, we have looked at different things that have been happening. There's a human trafficking part that we have to talk about this very morning. And of course, we have the United Nations observation alongside that of the NAPTIP as well. And of course, a lot of people have spoken about different things up until this moment. Now, for those who do not know, human trafficking is often described as modern-day slavery, and it thrives in silence, feeds in poverty, and of course, it exploits vulnerability and robs people of their dignity. Well, for many victims, the promise is a better job, education, or life abroad. There are different reasons why they have been taken away from their motherland. And Nigeria remains one of the countries most affected by trafficking, serving as a source, transit, and destination country. And today, as the world marks the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, we ask, are we making meaningful progress against this crime? We're also asking, are traffickers simply finding new ways to exploit vulnerable people? Because we have a statement from the United Nations Office on the Drugs and Crime, and of course Nigeria's National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, also giving us facts out there. And it is in view of this that we have brought in the State Commander of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons in Oyo State, Mr. Kayode Alfred, this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now today is I would like to say a beautiful day.
Yes, I think it is
it's
also
tomorrow.
To note
tomorrow,
that
yeah.
July 30th, which is tomorrow.
July 30th.
It's an annual
day
event.
to celebrate
Yes, it's
the
tomorrow.
World Day Against Trafficking.
July 30th, actually.
Yes.
I was already in the mood.
Oh yeah, we're already in the mood. So thanks for having me. My name is Kayode Alfred, and I'm the State Commander of National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, Oyo State Command here in Ibadan. Thank you.
So how has the battle been so far? I think that's the first question I want to ask you every time I see you.
All right, the battle will always be there, but we will never rest on our oars, you know, because NAPTIP, as the focal agency established by the federal government, the focal law enforcement agency to fight human trafficking in Nigeria, ever since has not rested on its oars. We have strategies that we use to fight human trafficking in Nigeria, and that's what we call the 5P strategy. Okay. Each P starts with each strategy starts with the letter P, and the first one is what we know as policy. NAPTIP has that mandate to develop and implement policies, laws, and regulations to address human trafficking matters. There are so many policies, there are so many regulations, there are so many. For instance, the Trafficking in Persons Prohibition Enforcement and Additional Act 2015 is, if you look at it, that's where you see all the functions of NAPTIP. Contained there, you see offenses and punishment relating to human trafficking in Nigeria. So the policy is there. Then the second one is what we call prevention. Prevention is simply creating awareness, sensitizing people, the general public, through the media, in religious houses, at schools, marketplaces, motor parks, on the road, everywhere. Print, electronic, social media. You see, as a proactive step. You see, some victims of human trafficking fell into dragnet of the traffickers as a result of ignorance, because they didn't know what human trafficking was. The red flags were there, but they did not know. But when they are sensitized, it will be very difficult. Some people would have fallen into the dragnet of traffickers, but haven't been sensitized. They saw it as, oh, and they were so lucky they did not. So the third one is what we call prosecution. And prosecution entails the investigation of suspected cases of human trafficking. And this investigation, you know, NAPTIP has the mandate to arrest traffickers, to detain them, and to charge them to court, to prosecute them. So that's simply what this prosecution is about, to investigate suspected cases and prosecute it in the law court. You know, NAPTIP is a prosecuting agency. We don't just fight human trafficking. We go after the traffickers and make sure that they end up in jail. All human trafficking offenses are punishable by jail terms. and some even carry fines along. All human trafficking offenses carry jail term, and some jail terms even come with fine together with it. You know, human trafficking is a criminal case. It's a criminal offense, so that's it. So the fourth one is what we call partnership. Partnership, I say, NAPTIP cannot do it alone. So we need to partner everybody, all organizations that are relevant to ensuring that human trafficking is nipped in the bud to the barest minimum. Okay, now look at the media. Through the media, look at BCOS now. We can say BCOS is a partner. Now, I'm invited here. I'll talk, and many people at home that are listening, that are watching, we know that, oh, those that did not know about human trafficking, we know about human trafficking. We collaborate with sister law enforcement agencies, the DSS, the police, immigration, civil defense, customs, even the army, the military, everybody, you know, through intelligence gathering, exchange of intelligence, joint operations. We carry out joint operations with sister law enforcement security agencies. That's the collaboration we are talking about. Even ministries, departments, and agencies that are relevant to the fight against human trafficking. What of the CSOs? What of the NGOs? What of faith-based organizations, community-based organizations? There are so many. Like in Oyo State, we have NACTA, that's the Network Against Child Trafficking, Abuse, and Labor. We have the Child Protection Network. We have so many organizations that, you know, they are interested in the fight against human trafficking. Right. And the last one, which is very important, is what we call protection. This talks about giving adequate protection to victims of human trafficking. It talks about their rescue, identification, reception, sheltering, provision of Medicare, counseling, getting them rehabilitated. The bottom line is to have them reintegrated in society. All of the empowerment aspect. Then there's a follow-up to ensure that they are not vulnerable again to being trafficked.
All right, we'll have to come back to this conversation, but we have so much to unpack before actually talking about this piece.
Oh, all right.
But before that, we have a commercial break. We'll be right back.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comau, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comau on Malaria Gone.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Still talking about ahead, the celebration ahead of World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, which is tomorrow. We have Mr. Kayode Alfred, this Oyo State Commander, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP. Mr. Alfred, before we went on that commercial break, you broke down the 5 Ps for us. But before we delve into that particular conversation, let's take it from the beginning.
All right.
There was a reason why this day was established. Why are we talking about World Day Against Trafficking in Persons?
Yes.
What's the significance of this day?
All right. You see, human trafficking is a crime that is a transnational organized crime. It's not just peculiar to Nigeria. Human trafficking is everywhere. You understand? And let me just say this, that there's what we call the Palermo Protocol. You understand? And I'll just quickly say this to let people know that it's a global thing. In December year 2000, all the countries in the United Nations converged in a city in Italy called Palermo. And the main reason for this meeting was the convention that we call it the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. You know, human trafficking is a transnational organized crime. It cuts across countries, you understand? Though human trafficking there are 2 types of human trafficking. We have the internal, then we have the external. That is, when human trafficking takes place within the geographical confines of a country, we call it internal trafficking. Even within Oyo State here, there could be human trafficking taking place, depending on the form of human trafficking.
So we also have when it is
No.
abroad.
We have seen human trafficking taking place within Oyo State. We have seen where victims of human trafficking were trafficked from maybe the southeast or the south-south. There are some states, based on the trend, we have the statistics. Maybe from Benue, that's within Nigeria. And ask me what kind of the form of trafficking within. Let me just say this: Oyo State, for instance, Oyo State has borders with Republic of Benin. All right. So we say, for instance, Oyo State is source, transit, and destination for human trafficking, because people they bring them from Republic of Benin, Cotonou, from Togo. And it's very rampant since I got to Oyo State. I discovered that this issue of child labor, the victims are usually from all these neighboring countries. It's because of the border, you understand. At the same time, people are trafficked from Oyo State to other parts of the country, and even outside, maybe to Libya or to all these Gulf nations. So that's what I'm just trying to say. Now, back to the question.
Before you go on, I think you need to explain what child labor is to many people, because there are a lot of people who do not understand that particular, there are thin lines between I want to do this and I want to do that, but how do we explain child labor to many of those watching us this morning?
All right, child labor simply means engaging a child. Who is a child? A child is someone who is not up to 18 years, because adulthood starts from from 18. So if you engage the service of a child to carry out a laborious activity, there's what we call child work, and there's what we call child labor. So child work simply is those those house chores that children do. We
normal duties.
Yes, like sweeping, washing plates, washing clothes, stuff. That will not affect their mental, psychological, social, physical well-being, you understand? That will not deprive them from, maybe going to school, or that will not affect their health. Just something they can do.
Okay.
And nobody is collecting any money for such service. But child labor simply means the kind of labor activity carried out by a child, someone who is not up to 18 years, that affects the psychological, the mental, the emotional, the physical well-being and social well-being of that child. Such children are not made to go to school. By virtue of the Child Rights Act, a child is supposed to be in school. You understand? So depriving a child, instead of being in school, you're saying the child should go and be working somewhere, and somebody is feeding fat on such, somebody is collecting money. That's exploitation. So that's simply child labor.
All right, thank
you. You can see it. All right. So now, back to the question. I think I've digressed a little. Please, the question again, let me just...
We're talking about the significance of the World Day Against Trafficking
All right.
in Persons.
The World Day Against Trafficking in Persons is celebrated annually on the 30th of July all over the world. And it's to commemorate, the fight against human trafficking. And each year has its own theme. Like this year, the theme is trapped behind the scam. Ask me why the trap behind the scam. You see, there's a growing trend of human trafficking now that is technology-driven, you understand? Where young men especially, unsuspecting young men, will be lured online with mouth-watering jobs, especially in areas of tech, marketing, customer service. And they deceive them. They will leave their countries to another country. It happens in Ibadan. We have handled such cases. I'm still coming to that. Then, upon arrival at destination, they turn them to slaves, they collect their phones, deprive them, they confine them to a building where they will be made to perpetrate cyber fraud, like romance scam, cryptocurrency scam, or money laundering activities. It became very rampant in the Southeast Asia before it now evolved to Africa. Nigeria is very affected. We, in APTIP, we have handled cases that has to do with that. All this technology-driven trafficking for human trafficking. Trafficking in persons. So that is the reason That's the reason for this year's theme. It's a growing trend. It's a growing trend. It's the latest trend of human trafficking.
All right. Talking of the trends of human trafficking, I was just about to talk about the technology you mentioned now, because we know years ago, it's not a new trend. And we used to talk about child labor, like you mentioned earlier. We talk about sexual exploitation. But now when technology has been involved, how did that start? And how do people think, are they really trapped behind this scam? Because when someone is luring you with a foreign job, sometimes they even ask some of these people to pay certain amount of money. They take them through a desert, when taking them, transporting them to the said destination. And when this routine are being laid for you, when they tell you, oh, this is the route we are taking you through, you're not going by airplane, should they not have called them to order, to think twice and say, oh, is this real? Is there a psychology behind people being trapped behind?
You see, let me define human trafficking for you. I will just summarize it. If I go by the standard, it will be so confusing, but I'll break it down. So I'll say human trafficking simply is the act or attempted act of the recruitment or procurement of a person through the means of deception, force, coercion, abduction, fraud, or any means for the purpose of exploitation. You understand? Now, I said deception. Did you hear me say deception? To deceive somebody. You know, it's very easy when someone is desperate, maybe out of the fact that the person is unemployed, or out of the fact that the person is impoverished, the poverty, all this thing. Someone who is gainfully employed, who has a very good job, who earns well, it's very hard to get trafficked. Do you believe that? But the traffickers, they prey on vulnerable persons. People that they know that, oh, these people they are unemployed, they don't have any job, or maybe in their family they could hardly feed. So the issue of deception is what the means of trafficking, you understand? Just like I said, if someone is gainfully employed, it will be very hard to traffic such a person. So that's just it. So deception is usually what traffickers use as a means to have their victims exploited.
Okay, and let's look at emerging forms of trafficking now.
Yes.
You know, we've already briefly mentioned child labor, sexual exploitation, the in-trend now of using technology. Let's
talk about, before that, let's look at other forms of human trafficking, because there are many. The sexual exploitation is there, and even the sexual exploitation comes in different forms. What of labor? What of forced labor? And I want to say this because people always feel it's women and children that are affected. Men are also victims of human trafficking at times. Because when we talk about forced labor, women are deceived, you know, they are lured to a place where they will be confined in a factory or in a quarry site or in a mining site to just be working, and they are paid little or nothing. That is forced labor. That's against when someone is forced to work against his will or her will, and is paid little or nothing. That is forced labor. Men are also affected by that. What of the issue of organ harvesting? There are so many men that it's usually men that their organs get harvested. That's another form of human trafficking. Well, while we're on break, I talked about the forceful recruitment of persons for using armed conflict. And I talked about some Nigerians, that's over the 500 Nigerians now, deceived, made to believe they will go and work in Russia. And the funny thing is that they give them tourism visa. You know, they get the visa, electronic. They don't go to embassy. The traffickers will just get them, oh, you are going to work in a factory there, they'll pay you well. But they get this tourism visa. And your tourism visa is not meant for anybody to travel, to work. But out of ignorance, they would not know. But when they get to the destination, they force them to join the army. Now, I told you, you can confirm it from the newspapers. Just Google it. You see that over 54 Nigerians confirmed dead. Those that were forced to join the Russian army to fight against Ukraine. There's an ongoing war. And you can be rest assured that all these people were the ones that they put in front of the battle as cannon foders. You understand? Because they just see, they see them as, oh, these people, they are not part of us. Let them be in the areas where they'll be vulnerable to, you know, if anything happens, if there's any attack from the enemies, you understand? So that's another form of human trafficking. what of the pornography aspect? Engaging persons under 18 years for using pornography. That's another form of human trafficking. What of the buying or selling of human beings for exploitative purpose? Here we talk about children. Children are most affected. Then children, babies. You know, we talked about the baby factory thing. There's what we call the baby factory. That's when human traffickers that specialize in making women, you know, and harvesting the babies of some women and selling them. You understand? You always tell people that there's another baby factory. In the real sense, have you been to a factory where you see we manufacture baby here? But in the real sense of it, what it simply means is the activities of some human traffickers, you know, forcing some women. In fact, some women will volunteer, you understand, to sell their babies.
So that's
but
another form of
yes, that's another form of human trafficking. Either they volunteer to sell or not is a crime. Because you're not meant to sell babies.
No, it makes me look back at what she asked you before, and I think we need to look at more of the predisposing factors to this, because you mentioned desperation, you mentioned vulnerability,
yes.
But we need to know other factors that have put people in a position to either volunteer or to be deceived.
Let me just tell you that in human trafficking, consent is irrelevant. You understand?
Consent is irrelevant.
Consent is irrelevant. If any of the means of trafficking was used, you understand? So consent, don't say that because it is a crime. So forget that consent thing. It is still human trafficking.
All right, Mr. Alfred, because of our time, we still have a lot to unpack. Let's look at NAPTIP announced that 156 human trafficking victims have been rescued since January 2026. Alongside 47 new convictions secured.
Yes.
I know it's way beyond the rescuing of this number. And when we look at it in the actual sense, it might even be more than the 156 that have been reported.
Yes.
We hear a lot of cases of some people were rescued from Mali, some people were rescued from Libya and all that. And when they come back, we hear the gory stories they tell us. We hear the things they've been through.
Yes.
Now, beyond the rescue of these people and beyond these convictions, what can we do? Now, before we even go to what we can do, as the state commander of NAPTIP in Oyo State, I think you should also give us accounts. Do we have issues like this in Oyo State in recent time, especially this year? Do you have any cases you're currently handling in talking of human trafficking in Oyo State currently? But before you answer that, we have a commercial break. And when we return, we'll talk about human trafficking issues in Oyo State. Stay with us.
Yes.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Didn't your landlord just increase rent?
I saved for this one separately on money points. You say you save on money points? Yes. This madam money points here, the array of your dryer there is target savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is fees savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact.
Jennifer, money point save as you transact. Money point fixed savings and money point target savings.
What's up? Where did German won't contribute to you? Where should they? Come on, sir. Oh, you go give your money to Hadaku to save. You see money points accounts there. You know, go open a savings account. Now Hadaku you shoes. I beg everybody inside this my saloon. Oh, yeah, bring out your phone and download the money points hack now. Even you. What are you waiting for? Download the money points hack now. Hadaku, wow, open money points account.
Money Point, made for your progress.
This award goes to the most punctual student of the entire school. And the winner is Lisa Solomon.
Something is telling me that she makes her daughter skip breakfast just to be here. You people could have just asked. I would have been happy to tell you my secret.
Enjoy instant goodness with John Vent's 3-in-1 chocolate. The quickest start to your morning.
No, it me now.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much for sticking around with us. We're still having the conversations around the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. And yes, the celebration is July 13th. And from
Yes, before we went on that break, Mr. Alfred, we're talking about issues of human trafficking in Oyo State.
Yes.
National body has announced that from January to July, they have been able to rescue over 156
Which national body?
persons. I'm talking of NAPTIP now.
NAPTIP, yes.
Been able to rescue over 156, but beyond the national body coming to talk to us about the numbers now, let's look at in-house in your state. Do we have recent cases of human trafficking? Do you currently have cases you're handling?
There will always be cases now, because human beings are involved. And whenever a case is reported to us, we swing into action to do the needful. We don't even need to wait for when cases are reported to us, because we take proactive steps in ensuring that human trafficking is nipped in the bud. However, when we handle a case, we do it with due diligence. After this program, I will play a voice note to you. As I'm talking to you right now, there's a victim of human trafficking that the case was reported last week by the sister about a young lady that got trafficked to Mali and was being used as a sex slave in a brothel. It took our intervention in NAPTIP, Oyo State, Ibadan, just 2 days ago, to have that girl rescued. And as I'm talking to you now, she's on her way to Ibadan. And the person that even trafficked her, if you ask her, she'll tell you, I don't know. Because she made a friend online who lured her to Lagos. And from there, she found herself in Mali, where she was sexually exploited for 3 years. And the sister said, though, on their own part, the family had made effort to have the girl released, because after the girl had been exploited, she was given what we call death bondage. Because the trafficker made her, that's what we call death bondage, where the trafficker, after giving you the impression that I will help you travel out, the cost of transportation, accommodation, feeding, and even the job, you pay me when you start working. You understand? And they bill them. You pay maybe like 5 million, you be paying gradually. You go and work as a nanny, or you work in, just a legitimate job. But on getting to the destination, they will tell them that, you're going to prostitute. That's the way it usually goes. So for this young girl, that's what happened to her. That after she was able to fulfill that amount of money, she was able to pay it, as a result of the sexual exploitation. Each time she want to go, that at least each time a man will go and meet her, you understand, and have sex with her, the money will be paid to the madam, and they will document it. So, calculating it, she was able to meet her target. But she kept saying that's what the sister told me, that each time her sister would tell the trafficker that, I've completed the morning, let me start going home, she will fall sick. The first time, second time, third time, fourth time. So they now concluded that it was a spiritual thing, just to keeping that girl there.
To keep them trapped.
Yes, to keep them, because whenever she fell sick, they would take her, they give her medication, and the girl said that they would just give her just some little drugs, and they would say this drug costs, the dispenser for there, this cost maybe like 100,000 naira, the equivalent. So you continue prostituting after paying. Can I go? She falls sick again. So then I said, no way, let's go to NAPTIP. But we have the expertise. We know how to do it. We cannot be saying it here. You understand? My colleagues that are here, they are here, they're listening. They saw what I did. And from my table, I tell you that the traffickers there released her. To justify all what I just said, after this program, I will play a voice note. As I'm talking to you, before we came into the studio, the girl was already at the motor park, coming back to Ibadan.
Now, I want to ask a question about how you process some certain cases, because you described that of the girl outside of Nigeria. And you mentioned earlier on that the child labor is something different. You also mentioned that it can occur within the state.
Sure.
Now, there have been cases over the years where we have someone sends in a child from maybe a village or somewhere to go and work as house help.
How old? A child is a person under 18 years.
Child under the age of 18
to go and work.
To go and work as house help in some houses. There are people who have, they call themselves an agency of sorts for that. There was a time I met someone who was offering services to my mom back then and said,
if she needs house helps, girls that can do this, that can do that around the house and all of that, that she can send, that she runs a network of children like that. And I want to ask, where does this fall? How do we look at cases like this? What is the message to people like that?
It is very wrong. It's criminal. Why would a right-thinking human being delve into such business? You are carrying children, you recruit children, take them from one town to another for them to go and work, and somebody will be feeding fat. You understand? Is that not wickedness?
But they say they pay their families for...
Even though they are paying their families, is it right? The children is against the right of such children. Why can't parents train their own children? Why bring a child to the world when you know quite all right that you will not be able to care for that child? Do you know how many children that get sexually molested by virtue of being made to go and work, leave the confines of their parents' homes to go and work? Even those that are even related to all these people that take them in to work for them, they usually abuse them sexually. All these children, they are the mercy of those people they are living with. They face all sorts of hardship. You understand? So is it right? It's wrong. And it's criminal for such people that go about carrying children. Why can't people employ the services of adults? It's because they know that as an adult, there are certain things you cannot do to an adult. But a child that is very vulnerable, that cannot, say something, it's very wrong.
All right, we have a commercial break, Mr. Alfred. We'll be right back to continue that conversation. Stay with us.
Multivitamin Junior. Supramult Multivitamin Junior. Being mommy simplified.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on. Malaria gone.
Very much for staying with us. We are still talking about World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. As we begin to wrap up, Mr. Alfred, you mentioned we were talking about the cases in your state.
Yes.
Sometimes we ask questions. Are these cases isolated cases, or do we have a chain of traffickers in Oyo State? We know we have them all around the nation, but is that what we are experiencing in Oyo State also, or they are just isolated cases whereby victims are picked at random times by different people?
See, human trafficking is everywhere, not only in Oyo State. And there's this trend now that, in Oyo State, let me just tell you the prevalent forms of human trafficking. Then I will tell you how this victim gets into the dragnet of the traffickers. Now, in Oyo State, we spoke about Shagala, and I said Shagala is the Arab word for house help. Women, especially mature women, married women, traveling to Arab countries to go and work as a house help and ending up being slaves is very, very prevalent in Oyo State. Why? It's not bad to go and work, you understand, because as an adult, but when it becomes exploitative, that is where it becomes human trafficking. Why? I talked about what we call kafala migration labor system, that in all these countries, their government give them the right for sponsorship of immigrants to come and work for them. And the sponsor determines the entry, the residency, the nature of work, and the exit of such immigrants. And you pay in advance. They put down money to sponsor them. They have agents in their countries, for instance, that liaise with some so-called agents in Nigeria most of them human traffickers. They go and recruit all these women, and these women will not pay a dime. The food debate, they sponsor everything, the flight tickets, the international passport, and when they get there, they end up being slaves because they won't pay them anything. And sometimes they even get, from their testimony, they get sexually molested. And you see them crying, NAPTIP, help us, help us. You understand?
All right, we have to go. But do we have our current existing laws against traffickers? Do you think they are strong enough to deter these traffickers from continuing in this trade?
Yeah, of course. Just like I said at the beginning, that all forms of human trafficking offenses carry jail terms. You commit the crime, you do the time. You end up in jail. So that's enough.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kayode Alfred. He is the Oyo State Commander and National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you very much.
We are all able to fight human trafficking entirely as a nation. We'll be right back with our second guest. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Continue on the conversation.
All right, thank you very much for sticking around with us. We'll still continue the conversation about the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. And yes, indeed, it's celebrated every July 30th. And right about now, to join us in the conversation, we have the coordinator in Oyo State for the Child Protection Network, CPN, Mrs. Rosemary Odibo. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Now, this celebration is something very important. Can you tell us the significance, especially as it concerns your agency and the work done so far?
This year's World Day Against Child Trafficking is the significant because of the team trapped behind the scam. Because the media have become one of the agencies of recruitment for trafficking. So trafficking is no more maybe only kidnapping, but various ways are open now through which children, persons, relations are being lured into being trafficking these days. So it's very significant that we need to trash it.
When we talk about trashing the issue of trafficking, especially in Nigeria, who are those we would say fall prey of these issues the most? Are they children, adults, more of men, more of women? Who are those that fall more into this category?
Through our own intervention, I've discovered that there is no limit to who can be caught in this web. Children, the youths, even we've come across somebody who is well paid where she works, all because she wants to travel abroad. She sold all she had and then paid this agency only for later to be discovered that she had been lured into being trafficked. So I wouldn't say only children, I wouldn't say adults. Because vulnerable, just people can be vulnerable in any form.
But when we talk about vulnerability, I know that's what we tailor it towards the most, that people are vulnerable, so they tend to use their vulnerability to penetrate and traffic them. But should we also talk about the economy? Like this lady you mentioned now, who is earning so much, but is hell-bent on wanting to leave the country. Of course, we'll talk about maybe for greener pastures or something better than what she's currently, or how she's currently doing in Nigeria. Should we also talk about maybe because the economy, people are not okay with the economy and they feel like when they leave the country, they will get a better life?
Well, economy can also be part of it, but I will see it as being ignorant. The going outside the country, the traveling is not really the issue. The issue is the means by which this person left. And that is why traffickers have capitalized on this ignorance to lure people into accepting their offer. Some students want scholarship to go and travel abroad, to go and study. Some just want to let that name be that I am outside the country. We've seen cases of yes, it's because of economy, where because I'm a woman, there's a case we intervened in when the girl was repatriated by IOM. The woman was sick. She had no money to care for herself. She had cancer. And then somebody came and said, this is your 14-year-old girl. I can take her to London. And then she can get a job, she can be going to school and be working, and then the money will be sent to you. And then the woman agreed, all because she needed money all because of her health, all because she's a single mother and she has to be okay. And she agreed. According to her, she got, when the daughter left, the woman sent her money twice, 30,000. And after that, that was all. Until we approached her through the address supplied. And when I told her, your daughter is in Libya, she said no, her daughter is in London. Can I get the phone number of that woman? She said since after the second 30,000, she never had any contact with her again. That is okay because she doesn't have. If you don't have, there are ways, there are legitimate ways to work out your means of survival, not mainly by being lured into becoming a victim of in the hands of traffickers.
All right, let's talk about what you've seen, in your work so far when it comes to trafficking, especially of children now, because you work with the Child Protection Network.
Yes.
Let's talk about these cases, the peculiarity of these cases. What are the common trends that you see that you think people are not being wary of?
The common trend in the hands of these traffickers is, I say, resting on the vulnerability of parents to release their children to them. Because most cases, it's even the parents that are involved, and then they will be told, do not tell anybody. They will be envious of you. We only have a limited offer. So if you tell them, they may come and they will ask you, who is the person, please, which you want to release our children. So the common trend is secrecy, and then capitalizing on the ignorance and vulnerability of parents, children, youth, just name it.
Is it just ignorancy or maybe literacy issues or education? Maybe that can play a part.
Yes, that can also play a part. That can play a part, but we have cases of even well-learned person who was trafficked ignorantly. There's this website that promise scholarship, online job, and she applied, and the invitation started, and lo and behold, it was a scam. It was all in the name of trafficking. But the majority, let's say, is because of the level of illiteracy. This set of people now, they need awareness. They need to be told often and often and often. Let them understand it. Let them know about it so that when someone is approaching them with that luring, deceptive method, they will be able to identify it, even though they are illiterate.
But I know we've been talking a lot about trafficking. We hear radio stations talk about this issue, and sometimes they even bring people, victims, to talk about their experiences. People are also on a regular basis being warned about not following people you are not aware of. If you know you're not certain of the job, if you know you're not certain of what you're being offered, you don't have to go. And especially if you know you do not have a way of verifying these offers, these jobs, you don't have to go with them. But we still see people fall into this trap. Is it just about ignorance or greed? And the issue of children, we understand sometimes some children are orphans. They really do not have anyone to guide them, to shield them from these issues. But in a situation where we have parents pushing their children into these traps, do we have the same measure of punishment for them as also for the traffickers themselves?
Well, in cases, just like you have said, let me say greed. The 80% of it is greed. We want money, we want fame, we want this and that. So greed is a major tool to hold on when it comes to this trafficking. Now, parents, some actually child wants to be trafficked, And then children being vulnerable, they must obey the parents. When the parents said, prepare, you are going with such a person to maybe Libya, and then the picture will be painted, you'll be good, you'll be okay, you go to school, that child tends to agree. That child may not even like the idea, but because the parent factor involved. We had a case where a girl of 15 years was rescued. How was she rescued? This girl was in SS3, preparing for WAEC. Now, she's an orphan, just like you said. She stays with the auntie. The auntie and her husband have arranged with a trafficker that will come and pick her. Then, CPN have gone to her school for an outreach, and we've mentioned about all this. So when the auntie approached her and the husband and they sat her down and told her what she stands to gain, by the time she got to school, she informed the principal. The principal called us. And then it was a Friday. The girl told the principal that the auntie said by Sunday, the trafficker would be available. So we made everything possible. We teamed up with Rapid Response Team, Minister of Women Affairs. In fact, the chairman, Pastor Marcus, was available. We moved down to the police station, picked an officer, went to her school, picked her from her school, went home, picked her auntie, and dropped her with the police. And that's how the girl was rescued.
But when we have issues like this, what about those that were coming to pick her? Sometimes we would have thought maybe you would trail them or wait for the trafficker to come. So we'll nab the trafficker herself or himself, because there are also other children who would fall victims. Yes. And sometimes we have children who would not even be bold enough to say this out. She was bold enough because she has heard about it. Mm-hmm. She told her principal or a teacher in school, and they were able to take action. But in situations where the children have been threatened or the child was threatened, how do we ensure we do not continue this chain of trafficking business?
The only way we can, like you asked that, why not, maybe we should have allowed that Sunday. Yes. It's a risk. We don't want to take a risk. What about if she said Sunday, and then by Saturday night, she was whisked away, given to the person? The police actually monitored that woman to be able to get the trafficker. She never came.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So she must have gotten an information.
She got an information and she never came. And that was how that one was locked up.
Now, while speaking about that, you laid down a kind of process. I don't know if it's peculiar to that case or that is how you actually process when you have approaches like that. So let us know, who are those you collaborate with? What's the chain of action? And who are the people that you lay it down to? I know that you cannot exactly do some things all by yourself. Sure. But what are the things that you do? What are the people you do them with, and how do you do them?
Okay. Child Protection Network, Oyo State, we collaborate with the integration for family tracing. We do family tracing, and then when the child is brought, we join them to integrate the child back to the family, and then we monitor them to make sure, is that child going to school, is he into vocation, or whatsoever. We monitor. Even at times, we give supports, financial support, scholarship, and so on, just to make sure that that child is okay, so that there will be no reoccurrence of being recycled again and moved out of the country. Then we collaborate largely to do this. So if it's medical, if it has to do with education, we also work with the Safe School, Department of Civil Defense, Nigerian Civil Defense. We work with them. And so we work with these different agencies and bodies to make sure that everything we want comes out fine for the best interests of the child.
All right. Thank you very much for having these people on speed dial. But then, looking at it, I asked the previous guest a question about the trend of some persons in our society having a chain or a network of families that they actually speak with
and then they bring their children to come and do house help jobs across different parts of the city.
Some reduce. One, we have to visit the economy to make families at least comfortable a little to be able to cater for their own children. And then, if I have a sister who decides to keep my child, make sure this child goes to school, and this child is not given a tax harmful to the age or that is not age appropriate. A child of 8 years old can wash plates in the house, can sweep, can wash her socks. Some can even wash their clothes. And this child is in school, is doing well. You are not a kind of making this child be lesser than your own children. You carry all of them along, then that's not child labor. But if the same child is in your house, and this child is supposed to be in school by 8 o'clock, instead this child is at home washing your children's clothes. After washing, she's grinding pepper, she's cooking, and the rest. All those are not her, not what she's supposed to do by her age. And then you have deprived this girl of her rights to education. That is child labor.
All right, we talk about when you see something, say something. We know it's not just about the family unit now. It involves everyone, people in the community. But unfortunately, it feels like a lot of people are quiet. We go silent when we see issues like this. We see a lot of these children in our areas. Sometimes they are with some of our neighbors, but we do not raise alarm. And it feels like because we are beginning to imbibe this culture of me and my family. We stay in a gated estate. I don't know my next door neighbor. How can we do better as citizens, as community members? When we see these things, how can we begin to raise alarm?
Yeah.
What should we begin to do? And there are some cases where, or instances where you don't want people to know that, of course, you want to hide your identity. You don't want them to know. What are those steps that should be taken? Where should they go to?
In such cases, one, every community has a landlord association. In landlord association, this issue of child labor should be brought and made open. And then the chairman of the landlord association has the right to check, visit at least families, and then they have meetings. And then they have a way of monitoring, even though some people are in gated environments, me and my family, at times you will not even see yourself for the next 2 months. Maybe while driving out, you go. In such cases, the landlord association stands the right to be able to monitor who are those in that next compound. That child you see every morning walking out in the morning, and it's not that this child is in school uniform. She's on mufti. By 9 o'clock, you still see that child dragging 2 packs of bottled water. A girl of 10 years dragging 2 packs of bottled water, and then after that, that child is outside again going to grind pepper. You raise a question. This case can be reported to the landlord association. This person should be called. Who is this child? Is this child in school? And then from there, they take it up more than that. We have such cases, a lot of them, that was reported to us, and we have to. Most times, some of these gated houses that we know we cannot just, we go through the school. By the time we get the child, the school help us to invite this auntie or whoever, and this person comes, and then we take it up from there. And the child will be temporarily taken away from them by the Ministry of Women Affairs and placed in a safe shelter, while this person is forced to bring the parents of this child. And then we'll take it off from there.
So what's the punishment that is being meted on the parents of these children also?
The parents of these children, most of the time, some are ignorant of the fact that the help promised is not what that child is going to get. If your child is somewhere, visit there. Have a time of unscheduled visit to know what is going on with your child. If you cannot reach that far personally on phone. Now for their own punishment, I don't even know, because it's also a crime. The parents need to be punished, but like I will say now, I am not into justice system, so I wouldn't know what kind of punishment will be duly correctional, and then for others to learn from, for the parents.
We see a lot of these offences, and of course the punishment sometimes ranging between 5 years and a fine of not less than 1 million, sometimes 2 million, sometimes I think 5 million, and 7 years imprisonment. It depends on the offences now. But when we have these issues a recurring issue like this, are we going to say the punishment is not enough? Is that why people go back, or we have more people coming up with different, various kind of schemes to lure people into trafficking?
It's not that the punishment is not there. The major issue is the implementation. Most cases are watered down, most cases drag, most cases, and then this culture of silence. Some want to settle out of court. Some don't even want any problem.
But should that be an option in the first place?
It's not an option. Then another one is that if a judgment is passed on things like this, there should be a kind of awareness. When I heard that, because this happened, and this person has been sentenced to 4 years imprisonment, I will caution myself. I won't do it. But most of the time, we don't have such cases coming out to the media, announced in the radio, and the rest. So awareness.
Okay. All right, so as we begin to wrap up this morning, what are the things that you think children, adults, the society should know about the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons?
Well, what I feel we should know is, one, let us verify every offer that looks so juicy. That it looks so juicy and good, and the beneficial does not mean it may not be a scam. So let us be vigilant, and then let us help one another. If you see something, you say something. Like you were saying the other time, in the community, you notice things, voice out. Do not be afraid and say maybe you'll be labeled or the rest. Let us work together as a family.
When you have children like this rescued, and now I'm talking about your network and the work, what you have been doing so far in fighting against trafficking, especially for children, what help is available to these children? For instance, the example you cited earlier, rescuing the girl, and of course picking her mother. How do you make sure she's safe, or such children are safe?